not break his word. He does according to all that comes out of his mouth. Or if a woman vows a vow to Yahweh and binds herself by some agreements while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father has kept silent towards her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement with which she has bound herself stands. But if her father forbids her on day of the hears, then none of her vows nor her agreements by which she has bound herself stand, and Yahweh pardons her, because her father has forbidden her. But if she at all belongs to a husband while bound,
Now,
by her vows or by a rash utterance from her lips by which she bound herself, and her husband hears it, and he has kept silent towards her on the day that he hears, then her vows shall stand, and her agreement by which she bound herself do stand. But if her husband forbids her on the day that he hears, by then he was nullified her vow which she vowed, and the rash utterance of her lips by which she bound herself, and Yahweh pardons her. Number 9, bro.
okay. But any vows of a widow or a divorced woman by which she has bound herself stands against her. And if she vowed to in her husband's house, or bound herself by agreement with an oath, and her husband heard it, and has kept silent, and towards her, and did not forbid her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement by which she bound herself stands. But if her husband clearly nullified them on the day he heard them, then whatever came from her lips concerning her vows, or concerning the agreement binding her, it does not stand. Her husband nullified them, and Yahweh pardons her. Every vows and every binding oath is afflict her, being, let her husband confirm it, and let her husband nullify it. But if her husband eat together silent at her from day to day, then he confirms all her vows, or all the agreements that binds her. He confirms them, because he keeps silent towards her on the day that he heard. But if he nullifies them after he heard, then he shall bear her crookedness. 25. These are the laws which Yahweh commanded Moses, between a man and his wife, and between his father and his daughter, in her youth and in her father's house.
So a long section about vows. The focus of during this message is, of course, the difference between a woman who is still living at her father's house